In a situation where the next fate is not promised, a lot of drama can be expected to unfold. While one's collapse during competitive gameplay shocked the viewing crowd, another's sudden fall from grace was captured following a major injury, also during a match. The NFL is mostly viewed as a cultural game that connects many together, but beyond the beauties captured during many remarkable winning memories, the football world has quite a record of moments that send chills to the spines of fans. In this video, we'll discuss 20 horror scenarios within the NFL, and the first on the list is the well-discussed cardiac arrest of Buffalo Bills safety. Damar Hamlin's cardiac arrest. Damar Hamlin's collapse on January 2, 2023 was one of the most shocking medical emergencies in recent NFL history, unfolding in real time as millions watched. Hamlin, a 24-year-old safety for the Buffalo Bills, collapsed on the field after tackling Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins during a Monday Night Football game. After the tackle, Hamlin initially stood up, only to fall backward moments later, unresponsive. Medical personnel immediately rushed to his side, recognizing the gravity of the situation. It was later revealed that Hamlin had suffered a cardiac arrest, which necessitated the use of CPR and an automated external defibrillator AED on the field. These life-saving efforts continued for over 9 minutes, with teammates and fans anxiously watching. Hamlin was then rushed to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, where he remained in critical condition for several days. Hamlin's collapse raised significant awareness about the risks associated with high-impact sports and prompted the NFL to re-evaluate its emergency preparedness protocols. The incident also sparked a wave of support across the sports community, with fans, athletes, and celebrities rallying for Hamlin's recovery. Hamlin's collapse exposed the fragility of athletes, much like Joe Theismann's career-ending injury. Joe Theismann's leg break. On November 18, 1985, Washington Redskins quarterback Joe Theismann suffered one of the most horrifying injuries in NFL history, marking a somber moment for football. During a Monday Night Football game against the New York Giants, Theismann was sacked by linebacker Lawrence Taylor, a future Hall of Famer known for his aggressive style of play. The fateful play began with Theismann attempting a flea flicker, a trick play where the quarterback receives the ball back from a running back after initially handing it off. However, the play unraveled when Taylor broke through Washington's offensive line, leading to a forceful tackle. As Taylor drove his knee into Theismann's lower leg, the impact caused a brutal compound fracture, shattering both the tibia and fibula in Theismann's right leg. This gruesome injury was broadcast live on national television, with viewers and players immediately grasping the severity of the situation. The sight of Theismann's leg, bent unnaturally, became an iconic, albeit haunting, image in sports history. Taylor, realizing the gravity of what had just occurred, frantically waved for medical help as teammates and coaches reacted with shock and horror. Theismann's injury ended his 12-season NFL career instantly, as doctors later determined that the extent of the damage would prevent him from ever returning to professional play. He has since described the incident as a life-altering event, forcing him to focus on personal growth and life outside football. While Theismann's injury was horrific, Ryan Shazias' spinal injury introduced even deeper fears about paralysis. Ryan Shazias' spinal injury. On December 4, 2017, Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker Ryan Shazias suffered a devastating spinal injury during a routine tackle against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football. Early in the game, Shazias attempted a head-first tackle on Bengals wide receiver Josh Malone. However, upon impact, Shazias immediately reached for his lower back and rolled onto his back, visibly in distress. Alarmingly, he was unable to move his legs, sparking concern on the field and in the stands as players and fans realized the seriousness of the injury. Medical staff quickly attended to Shazias and, after a lengthy examination, carted him off the field on a stretcher. He was transported to a nearby hospital, where it was confirmed that he had suffered a spinal contusion, a bruising of the spinal cord, that left him temporarily paralyzed. Shazias' injury required spinal stabilization surgery, and his football career was immediately put on hold. The incident marked one of the NFL's most frightening moments, underscoring the inherent risks associated with high-impact sports. Following his injury, Shazias embarked on a remarkable journey of rehabilitation and recovery. Though he could not return to playing professionally, he eventually regained the ability to walk and has become an inspirational figure, often advocating for player safety. However, Shazias' inspiring recovery echoes the resilience of those like Chuck Hughes after a sudden tragedy. Chuck Hughes' fatal heart attack. On October 24, 1971, Detroit Lions wide receiver Chuck Hughes became the only NFL player to die during a game, a tragic event that profoundly impacted the league and its fans. The incident occurred in the final minutes of a game against the Chicago Bears at Tiger Stadium in Detroit. Hughes, who had caught a pass earlier in the game, went back on the field for what appeared to be a typical play. After a route downfield, Hughes suddenly clutched his chest, staggered, and collapsed near Bears linebacker Dick Butkushing was terribly wrong. Butkus signaled frantically for medical assistance. Trainers and doctors rushed onto the field, performing CPR as players and fans watched in shock. Hughes was quickly transported to Henry Ford Hospital, but efforts to revive him were unsuccessful. He was pronounced dead shortly afterward, with an autopsy later revealing that he had suffered a massive heart attack due to undiagnosed advanced arteriosclerosis, a condition that restricted blood flow to his heart. At just 28 years old, Hughes left behind a wife and a young son, marking an incredibly tragic moment in NFL history. While Hughes' death highlighted life's unpredictability, Dennis Byrd's paralysis showed football's physical dangers. Dennis Byrd's paralysis. On November 29, 1992, New York Jets defensive end Dennis Byrd suffered a career-ending and near-life-threatening injury during a game against the Kansas City Chiefs. The injury occurred in the third quarter as Byrd attempted to sack Chiefs quarterback Dave Krieg. As Byrd charged toward Krieg, his teammate Scott Mercereau was also closing in on the quarterback. In a tragic turn of events, Byrd and Mercereau collided head-on, with Byrd's head striking Mercereau's chest, causing an immediate and severe impact on Byrd's neck, which fractured Byrd's C5 vertebra, leaving him paralyzed and unable to move his legs. As he lay on the field, medical personnel quickly immobilized his neck and rushed him to a nearby hospital. Doctors were initially uncertain if he would ever walk again. Despite his situation, Byrd was determined to defy the odds. Through extensive rehabilitation and sheer determination, he made a remarkable recovery, regaining the ability to walk within months. Byrd later shared his story in a memoir, Rise and Walk, and became an inspirational figure known for his resilience and advocacy for spinal injury awareness. Byrd's tragic injury set a precedent for the life-saving measures seen in Reggie Brown's case. Reggie Brown's life-threatening neck injury. On December 21, 1997, Detroit Lions linebacker Reggie Brown experienced a traumatic neck injury that nearly cost him his life and permanently ended his NFL career. The incident occurred during a game against the New York Jets when Brown attempted to make a tackle. Following the play, he remained motionless on the field, and it quickly became apparent that he had sustained a severe injury. Brown had suffered a spinal cord injury that led to paralysis, with the impact on his neck cutting off critical oxygen flow and causing his body to shut down. Medical personnel recognized the life-threatening nature of Brown's condition and swiftly intervened. They performed an emergency tracheotomy on the field, a rare and drastic measure in the NFL, providing him with an airway to prevent further oxygen deprivation. This quick action stabilized him enough to be transported to the hospital where further treatment continued. Although Brown ultimately survived, his injury was so severe that doctors advised him against ever returning to professional football. Brown's recovery, while successful in saving his life, did not restore him to a condition that would allow him to play again. However, Brown's near-death experience mirrors the devastating leg injury and recovery journey of Alex Smith. Alex Smith's leg injury and subsequent infection. On November 18, 2018, Washington quarterback Alex Smith suffered a career-threatening injury in a game against the Houston Texans. During a sack by Texans defenders J.J. Watt and Kareem Jackson, Smith's leg was caught beneath him as he went down, resulting in a gruesome compound fracture of both the tibia and fibula in his right leg. The break was strikingly similar to Joe Theismann's infamous leg injury in 1985, and fans were horrified to see another Washington quarterback experience such a devastating injury on the same date, 33 years later. Following the initial surgery to repair the fractures, Smith's recovery took a frightening turn as he developed a severe infection in the affected leg. The infection, caused by flesh-eating bacteria, became life-threatening and nearly necessitated an amputation. Doctors battled the infection through multiple surgeries, including debridement procedures to remove infected tissue and save Smith's leg. At one point, the infection was so severe that his life was at risk, and an amputation was a serious consideration to prevent further spread. Smith's recovery journey was nothing short of miraculous. After months of intensive physical therapy and rehabilitation, he defied the odds by returning to football in 2020, eventually playing as the starting quarterback for Washington. His resilience and determination to return to the field after such a horrific injury inspired fans and athletes alike, and his comeback earned him the 2022 NFL Comeback Player of the Year award. Smith's miraculous comeback resonates alongside the haunting concussion sustained by Tua Tagavoa. Tua Tagavoa Concussion. On September 29, 2022, Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagavoa suffered a traumatic head injury in a game against the Cincinnati Bengals. This incident, which left fans and players deeply concerned, followed a previous injury just days earlier. During a game on September 25th, Tagavoa had hit his head on the turf after a tackle against the Buffalo Bills, stumbling as he tried to get up, a clear sign of a potential concussion. However, after a brief medical evaluation, he was allowed to return to play, with the Dolphins attributing his instability to a back injury. Many questioned the decision, as his symptoms appeared indicative of head trauma. Just 4 days later, in the Bengals game, Tagavoa was sacked and thrown to the ground, with his head forcefully striking the turf. The impact triggered a fencing response, a neurological reaction where his hands seized up and contorted involuntarily in front of his face. This response is often a sign of a severe brain injury, reflecting significant trauma to the nervous system. Medical personnel quickly attended to Tagavoa, and he was stretchered off the field and taken to a local hospital for further evaluation. However, Tagavoa's severe concussion reminds the crowd of the agony of McCallum's devastating knee injury, both moments that dropped jaws in football history. Napoleon McCallum's knee injury. On September 5, 1994, Los Angeles Raiders running back Napoleon McCallum suffered a catastrophic knee injury in a Monday Night Football game against the San Francisco 49ers. Early in the game, McCallum was tackled by 49ers linebacker Ken Norton Jr., a hit that led to one of the most severe injuries ever witnessed on the field. As Norton made the tackle, McCallum's leg twisted and